Before I introduce our incredible speaker for today, I wanted to first let you guys know that the Home Care Champions Experience, for those of you that don't know what that is an event that we host. We hosted our first ever in last September, and it was so much fun. It was honestly just such a dream come true for me. We had some amazing speakers: Steve the Hurricane, Clinton Jessica Nobles, Sarah Barker, Jen Ramos, who are all returning. It's going to be a really incredible one. The next one's happening September 24th to the 26th. And you have 3 days to get the pre-sale price. 3 days if you want a pre-sale and you want to come. So that's my pitch a little before we dive in. All right. I'm not afraid to bring it in. So one thing I do want to say about our speaker is we met at an event, and it was one that I was speaking at. She was a sponsor, and we ended up going out to dinner with, it was her and her friend and Steve the Hurricane, Steve's brother. And what was funny about the dinner was that Steve, myself, and his brother just kind of, we just wanted to do our own thing, and we were just like, we didn't really want to have to work at that time. But what was so fun, and we've talked about this, is like when we met Regina and her friend, we had the most fun at dinner, and like, cause you know how it is when you go out like a business dinner, you just don't know how the conversation is going to be. But we were talking about all kinds of stuff. We just had so many similar interests, super nerdy interests that I won't go into, but it was it was just such a fun experience. And since then, Regina and I had stayed connected. She was a sponsor at my event. I had two sponsors at my first event, right? And she was one of them. So she trusted me. She wanted to, come and support the event. And so I will always be grateful for that. She's such an incredible and kind human being. It's someone that I recognized that immediately after meeting her. And I think that's why I wanted to do more collaboration with her. And she has such a wealth of knowledge, and she's going to deliver that information today. And so I am so excited to welcome Regina. She is absolutely amazing, and she's going to be talking about mastering delegation and how you can scale your home care business. So, Regina, take it away.
Hi guys, how's it going? Good afternoon. Um, Thanks, Nick. Yep, I had a great time with Nick, and the feeling is very mutual because he believed in me from the very beginning, and he's one of those people that just opens doors for other people. And I look back on the journey of my company, and you always remember the people that helped you when they didn't need to. And so I love Nick for that reason. Thank you guys for all being here. My presentation is called The Art of Delegation. And I want to take it back to when I started. So back in 2020, right in the middle of a pandemic, I helped start a medical home health agency here in Denver. I'm from Denver, Colorado. It was crazy. People were disappearing. Everything was shutting down. It was pure chaos. I wonder if you guys still remember those days, especially in healthcare. Where did that leave us owners, right? And a lot of you guys, I traded my 40-hour work week for constant, never ending work. I wore every hat. I solved every problem because I kept telling myself, if I don't do it, who will? And so for 16 straight months, I worked like that. My health took a hit. I mean, my hair was falling out. I was gaining weight. My relationships were falling apart. I never saw my sister. My husband was just on the sidelines all the time, just waiting to hang out. And honestly, I just didn't know what happiness felt like anymore. Then one day, my husband had enough. He stepped in and he said, "That's it. I'm taking you away from all of this." He packed us up, he dragged me to Dollywood, and for the first time in over a year, I tried to unplug, but I really couldn't. I hired someone to help me before I left, but things just weren't going smoothly. My phone would not stop. buzzing, calls, texts, questions. My new hire didn't respect my boundaries. And honestly, she created more problems than she solved. Then, in the middle of it all, she went to lunch and she never came back. Next slide. And so that's me on a bench at Dollywood crying and I finally passed out because I found myself scrambling again, trying to handle everything from my tiny cell phone in the middle of the summer while my kids were yelling at me to please put my phone down. I wonder if this sounds familiar to anyone. Do you ever feel like you're sacrificing moments with your loved ones because you have to handle something right now for work? Because if you don't fill that shift, that means someone else's family won't get dinner that night. So that moment at Dollywood was my breaking point, but it also became a turning point. I realized that delegation wasn't something that I failed at, but it was something I had to learn. It wasn't just about handing off tasks, it was finding the right person and trusting them to carry the load with me. Since then, I've worked really hard to figure out how to delegate in a way that actually works. I learned to hire people who share my values, how to set clear expectations, and this is key, you guys, how to protect my time and boundaries. Most importantly, I realized something big. Delegation isn't about losing control, it's about making space for what really matters. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So, this story isn't just a personal journey, it is a universal lesson in leadership and growth. Isn't that why we're here today? Because we want to learn how to be better leaders for our companies. So, as we gather here today in this mastermind, we're reminded that the path to success doesn't have to be a lonely one, but it does require us to build strong teams, to cultivate trust, and empower others to share in our vision. So today we're going to explore how to master the art of delegation, develop strategies that align with our values, and create space to focus on strategic growth. So remember that, strategic growth and priorities. If you want to transform challenges into opportunities for growth and innovation, then thank you for being here. If you want to take back your time and build a company that you don't grow to hate, then this mastermind is for you. So let's get at it. A lot of what I'm going to share with you guys comes from three key sources: reading a ton of business books, getting into rooms with some of the smartest people I can find, like Nick and Steve Weiss, and more importantly, the 18 years of hands-on experience I have starting and growing healthcare businesses. So after crying myself on a bench in Tennessee, I knew something had to change. So I took everything I learned and I started my own virtual assistant firm, Ascension Business Solutions. And I've spent the last 3 years perfecting how to support home care teams like you. So from 2022 to 2023, my company grew an average of 627%. That was crazy, but it wasn't beginner's luck, because last year in 2023 to 2024, we grew again by another 447%. By focusing on delegation, building strong teams while being process-oriented, we scaled our company from just having a few VAs to having the privilege of providing life-changing opportunities to over 160 well-deserving virtual assistants. Today, I'm proud to say that we serve over 80 home care agencies from Hawaii to New York. And by keeping our clients, you guys, at the center of everything that we do and using mistakes as an opportunity to innovate, we've earned the badge of approved and trusted vendors for some of the largest home care franchises in America. I'm not sharing this with you. I'm not sharing this to impress you, but to impress upon you the power of delegation. It's the single most important skill that's allowed me to achieve this level of success while also helping entrepreneurs like you do the same. So if you're not convinced yet, let's bring in the big guns. So I'm a big believer in learning is earning. And no matter how busy I get, I always dedicate time to reading several books a month. Today, I want to share with you guys some of the most influential books and the key lessons that have changed my business. So if you guys are big Audible people, if you want to grab these titles and download them, these are amazing. The 80-20 principle by Richard Cox says that backed by studies, an astonishing 80% of your results come from just 20% of your efforts, right? But the problem is that most entrepreneurs waste their time on the 80% that don't move the needle. Think about it this way. You guys are out there marketing to all your different accounts. But if you really take a look at who's sending you the most referrals, it's 20%. And so what do you want to do? You want to double down on that 20% that's referring to you the most, right? So delegation allows you to focus on that high impact 20% that drives growth. And at the start, I'm sure there's a lot of startup companies in this webinar right now. Your entire job as the owner is cash flow. That's your 20%. So put a pin in that. The second book, I love this book. I read it a few times, several times. It's called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. He says that you don't just hire people to get tasks off your plate. You hire them to buy back your time. Because time is your most valuable asset. So what do? We got to outsource low value tasks. As an owner, you're no longer paid to do things, but hire smart doers. Okay. The third one is called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. He says that most small business owners get stuck working in their business instead of on their business. But to grow, you need systems and processes that allow your business to run without you being involved in every single detail. So delegation isn't just helpful, it's essential to building a business that doesn't rely on you 24/7. Your goal is to build a company that runs better without you. So the bottom line is delegation isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. By embracing the principles that we're going to talk about, you're not only going to scale your business, but you can reclaim your time, reduce burnout for you and your team, and you can create a company that thrives with or without you. So another thing, did you know that top millionaires and billionaires, they adopt a forever student mindset? Their houses are filled with libraries, and you won't catch them doom scrolling on Instagram for hours on end, because all it takes is one good idea to change everything. And I want to share one of those ideas with you guys. It's called the buyback loop of audit, transfer, fill. This idea has allowed me to level up again and again and again in my business. So when I started my business back in 2022, Ascension Business Solution, and to be honest with you guys, a lot of my adult career, I had what the book called a GSD mentality, get shit done. And it worked for a while, but it did not help me grow my business because I was taking on everything myself. I wonder if This GSD mentality sounds familiar. Is it you? Is it someone on your team? But let me tell you why that mindset has to shift. So once I proved my idea that using virtual assistants for home care was a big hit, I got buried in emails, nonstop meetings, social media, recruiting, onboarding. My company's growth stalled because I was too busy doing everything instead of building systems and teams. I realized that I wasn't running my business was running me. The lack of streamlined processes made me the bottleneck of my own company. I was so stuck in this hard work mode that I could not scale. But this is how I turned it around. I implemented the buyback loop of audit, transfer, fill. I started by auditing my time and identifying tasks that I could delegate. Then I hired key roles to take ownership of those tasks, effectively replacing myself every 3 to 6 months. This was really hard for me to do, you guys, because again, I had to realize that delegation wasn't about losing control, but making space for what really matters. So, for example, I brought in an operations manager. This was a game changer because she trained my virtual assistants to create SOPs for all of our clients. She implemented systems for accountability and transparency, like we send end of day reports every single day. This transformed our client experience, turning us from a simple VA company into a long-term growth partner for our clients, right? As the business grew, I continued the loop. I hired a success manager to handle onboarding because it's something that I really didn't enjoy doing and it took up so much of my time. Then a recruiter, she hired faster and better. We hired an HR manager who focused on creating top-notch training programs for each of the roles that we do. But get this, each time I hired someone, it freed up my time to focus on strategic growth. Again, my 20%. I use that 20% to build power partnerships, to do webinars like this, to get up on stage and deliver keynote speeches in front of 400 people, something I didn't always like doing, but I had to do that because that is what my 20% is. Every time I transferred a task to someone who could do it faster, better, and with more passion, I was able to fill my time with higher level activities that drove revenue and filled me with joy. So today I'm focused on strategic planning, growing our agency to becoming the best virtual assistant company in America. That's my goal. My team executes ruthlessly because I empower them, I trust them. And this is going to allow me to expand into Canada, the UK, Australia. Again, something only I can do. So now you might be wondering, how does this apply to me? Well, I wonder, do you guys know what your 20% is? What we should uncover what tasks are holding you back from focusing on your 20%. And if your time is spent putting out fires, managing day-to-day operations, or handling tasks that someone else can do, then how much time are you actually dedicating to growing your agency? As owners, we must do what is required, not what is desired. Okay. So you guys might be saying, well, Regina, I don't necessarily love marketing. I don't really want to be out in the field marketing. But again, your 20% is cash flow. You have to do that. So what can you take off of your plate that will allow you to do more of that, right? Let's say you're a bigger company and you hired Nick to help you with digital marketing, but you're too stuck doing the minutia that you can't even implement half of the things that he's talking about, right? So
You bring up such a key element here too, and I think a lot of times we get in our own ways when it comes to delegation and thinking about like one, you focused on understanding as an owner revenue generating activities, right? Like that is so essential. But if you are someone that doesn't like marketing, then you're going to avoid it like the plague. And you're going to fill your schedule and your calendar with all of these things that could be delegated, but you're like, well, I don't want to delegate that because I don't want to go marketing. You may not even be doing it consciously, you may just be doing it subconsciously. And there are only so many tasks that only you can do. And when you're able to really look at it and see where do I need to spend my time, right? Because most of the time, I mean, this is a reminder that I tell myself all the time: revenue generating activities, revenue generating activities. Money moves the needle. And again, it's not always like, hey, I'm in this business for money. That's fine. The more money you have, the more money you make, the more people you can help. So if your goal is to help people, then you need to look at money as a tool. And the way to do that is revenue generating activities. But we can't do that if we're bogged down by so much of these operations, especially things that we don't like to do. Like there is no reason that you should be doing things in your business that you don't like to do that are easy to potentially delegate. But I always think about it like this. This was something one of my coaches told me was that there's $1 task, $5 task, and $10 tasks. You could even say they're like $100 tasks, right? Not actually that financial value, but it helps you to analyze what you can do. So you should only be doing these $100 tasks. And the $10 task, $5 task, $1 tasks should be delegated. And the more that you start to do this in your business, because let's be honest, what do we all want? We all want freedom. We all want our time, the only thing that you can't get back. And so the more that you start to implement these delegation processes and really, and part of it, and I'm sure, Regina's going to get into it and then I'll stop talking for a sec, but it's understanding that once you create these systems and you start delegating the things that you don't like doing, it is the most incredible thing. And I guarantee you're going to say, I wish I did it sooner. Because I know that's what happened with me. There's certain tasks that I kept doing, finally delegated to someone else. Oh my gosh. I started screaming in excitement and cheer when it like happened without me. So anyway, there's my quick interjection.
No, you're right, Nick. You're right. You have to understand what your value is and align certain tasks with that value. And that's what we're going to get into. In the chat, there's a workbook specifically for this mastermind. So jump in there real quick, you guys. Open up the workbook and let's go through this together. So if you want to reclaim your time and scale your agency, success starts with intentionality. So here's a clear roadmap to follow that you can reclaim your time, empower your team, and focus on activities that drive growth, aka revenue, for your home care agency. So the first things that it's about 6 steps. You got to calculate your hourly value, audit your time, hire either internally or outsource it. Then once you've hired, we have to empower your team, then identify and avoid what we call the whirlwind, then fill and commit to high value activities, revenue generating activities. So let's get into it. How do you calculate your hourly value? So again, your time is your most valuable resource, right? We want freedom. So we have to determine how much it's actually worth. Next slide.
Oh, real quick too. Whatever
Yeah.
that number is, it's probably higher than whatever you think. I mean, I've talked to owners and the answers that I get are ridiculous sometimes. They're like, "Oh, it's $50 an hour." I'm like, "No. That is way too low. Your time is worth way more than that." So do not lower your value. Every single owner should be at least 100, maybe 200, 500 is where your time should be. Again, in my opinion. So just going to say that it's higher than whatever you think it is. That's what I'm going to say.
You're right. Because I think we should think about our annual income goal. How much do you guys want to make a year? So when I left my corporate job to start my own company, I left my income at that time, my salary was 250. So I knew that if I started my own business, I have to make at least $200,000 a year. So you take your income goal, you divide that by the hours a week and the weeks in a year that you want to work. So 200,000 divided by 40 hours a week, divided by 50 weeks a year. And that gives you an hourly value of $100. But let's say you're an administrator, right? Your operations manager, your business development girlies that you're paying $100,000. If you use that same equation, their hourly value is 50. So now that we understand what our hourly value is, you've got to ask yourself, are you spending time on high value tasks that equal $100 an hour? Or are you engaging in low value tasks that you could easily delegate for, let's say, $15 an hour, right? Are your top paid employees focusing on high impact work? Or are they stuck on tasks that could be outsourced for much less, right? So if you're paying your business development girlies 100K, why are they in the office recruiting for you? Or why are they in the office trying to do lead follow-up, right? That's something that you can delegate. So here's a practical example. I really don't like cleaning my house that much. I don't like scrubbing toilets. I don't like scrubbing my oven. So what I did is I paid a professional cleaner company, $210 a month to handle this for me. If my hourly value is $100, compare that to the $26 per hour because they come in for 8 hours. There's two of them that come in for 8 hours. 100 versus 26, that's a no-brainer. That's how you quickly and decisively understand what I need to delegate. And then guess what? I get to spend those 8 hours doing something else that fills me with joy. Like on the weekends, I get to pretend that I like pickleball with my husband. I get to do, I get to go snowboarding with my friends, or I get to go boozy shopping with my girlfriends after brunch. Those are the things that I love to do, not scrubbing toilets. So on a practical matter, what is it something that you guys can easily delegate? Another thing, I bought a vacuum that also mops my house because my all my floors are hardwood. And that sucker does its job twice a week without even me talking to it. Easy delegation, right? Next, once you know what your hourly value is, let's audit your time. Because to truly focus on what matters, first you need to see where your time is going. So in that workbook, we have this very easy table, right? But this is the tricky part, you guys. This is where you have to commit. You open your calendar and next week say audit your time, at least 3 to 5 days. Maybe it's you, maybe it's one of your team members that's saying, I'm constantly overwhelmed. I don't even know what to delegate. This is how you find out. You have to decide which are, and so 8 a.m. to 5:30, list out every single thing that you guys are doing. Then determine if it's low value or high value, right? High value are activities that drive growth and that need your personal expertise. 80% not necessary, could be delegated, something that you don't really enjoy, and their time sucks. And then you cross-reference that with your hourly value. And then you have a very clear path forward. So you have to transfer it, audit, transfer, fill. So transfer, it's either you hire internally or outsource to a trusted partner. Because again, reclaiming your time means empowering others to handle the 80% so you can focus on the 20%.
One thing I wanted to bring up, well, actually two things that I think are so important. One, a lot of times when people think of delegation or time or like, getting virtual assistants, it's thinking about as the owner. But like Regina said, getting it for your high value employees. And I see this so often. Some of your top employees that are spending time doing things that shouldn't be doing, many of which can actually be automated. But then the stuff that can't be automated should be delegated so that they can focus on these high tasks. The other thing that Regina brought up that I think is so awesome, right, is understanding things that aren't necessarily a service that Regina offers, like hiring a housekeeper, right? Like that's something that we're not always thinking about because it's not necessarily business related, but we should be considering that. I mean, how much time are you spending on, cooking? And hey, maybe you like those things and you do those things, but like you could have your groceries delivered, right? How much time are you spending in groceries? So like really thinking about not just your business, but your life and looking at areas of buying back your time and where you can look at that. Because to me, I think that is so essential. I mean, every like, and again, Regina and I are on the same path of like reading all these personal development books. And if you follow enough of these like millionaires and billionaires, like all of them, they're not doing any of these tasks, they have people that do these. And a lot of times, we have the resources to be able to outsource these tasks. But like if you think about it from the standpoint of how much time you're spending cleaning your house when and you're again looking at how much your time is worth and you're like, well, would you pay, let's say it is $100 an hour, right? Would you pay $200 to have your house cleaned, right? But you don't have to pay $200. You could potentially pay a lot less than that. So now you're actually saving money, not spending money for this. And that's how you have to think about it is if you're doing it and that's costing you that's your time, now you're like, "Oh, well, I'm actually saving money by hiring someone else to do this because of how much my time is worth." So, something to think about.
Right. It's a mindset shift, you guys. You know, it's what separates really high functioning, crazy productive, execute ruthlessly type of people from the rest is having this mindset of I know what I'm worth and I'm only going to do those things. It's practicing discipline with yourself. So when you hire, you could hire to one of two ways, right? Hire internally. These are ideal for roles that require close collaboration and internal knowledge, like your business development girlies or your operations manager, your administrator. Um, Another thing is outsourcing, outsourcing to a trusted partner like Ascension Business Solution. We are home care specific virtual assistants. The reason why virtual assistance is such a hot topic right now, next slide, is because of the amazing cost savings that you can benefit from. You bypass costly salaries, right? So, for example, to hire a recruiter in America, we got this number from ZipRecruiter. On average, it's around $56,000, but a lot of people forget you have tax burdens. You can save on benefits and administrative costs, right? Another thing that a lot of people don't realize, it mitigates risks like employee related lawsuits because we're 1099s, right? So just consider whether it's an internal or something you can outsource. So now you have your team, right? How do you empower your team? I think of it this way. I created this baby. You guys have created this baby and you've poured your heart and soul, blood, sweat, and tears into this baby. And you are trusting someone to hold your baby for a little bit. You cannot, don't drop the baby, right? So we gotta, how do we do that? To truly let go, you must empower your team to solve problems and hold them accountable for doing so. Trust, but verify. I want to teach you guys the 131 method, and this literally changed how I work with my team. So, the 131 says that when someone gives you a problem, your team, throw it back to them. Throw it back to them, but give them guidance via the 131. So when they say, I have a problem, make sure that they can clearly articulate what the one problem is, because how you frame a problem is directly going to affect how you solve that problem. So a problem properly identified is a problem half solved. Then ask them for three solutions. Ask them to give you three viable options for solving the issue. And this builds their resourcefulness, critical thinking. Then ask them to give you the number one recommendation. Have them choose and explain to you why that's the best option based off of their research. And more often than not, you guys, they'll discover the solution on their own. So 1, 3, 1, one problem, three solutions, one recommendation, right? When you do this, you're often creating leaders, not just people that are doers, right? You're leaders, and you're alleviating yourself from being the bottleneck. You're pushing the problem back to the frontline people, and really, they have the most context. So they're going to be able to solve it on their own. Then, once they solve the problem, have them create an SOP, right? A standard operating procedure. And these SOPs, you guys, should look more like children's book than an intimidating business document, right? Have it have a lot of pictures, arrows, circles, use words that people can understand. I know Nick loves using Loom, Loom, not Zoom. I mean, you could use Zoom or Loom, but have them record that process that they're explaining to you. And really, an SOP should look more like a map, how to get from point A to point B.
Yeah, I love video, obviously, if you know me. And it's not just for marketing, but using it for SOPs. And I'm constantly creating new SOPs and recording it in a video format. Never, and I have never created a written SOP because I just map it out on video. I can talk it out. If you use an app like Loom, it gives you the transcript. Then you can take the transcript, throw it through ChatGPT, have ChatGPT review it, organize it, simplify it, and then you can even ask it and say, based on this SOP, is there anything that is missing? So then you can even actually have it review your SOP to improve it to see if there's things that maybe you're missing. So just from a time standpoint, when you think about creating these SOPs, a lot of the things that we're doing are on the computer anyway. And so when you record it on Loom, the way that you have to think about recording these SOPs, you should be doing them on a regular basis. You should be recording at least one SOP every single week because what you're able to do is you're already doing that task. So since you're already doing that task, it takes a little bit longer, just a tiny bit longer to record it and talk about it while you're doing it, but you already have to do the task. And so now it's done. You have the video and now you can use it. Even if you are not necessarily going to delegate it right away, but at least it's done. And now you have it so that it's just, and then you just start to compile. And before you know it, you have a whole list of all these SOPs so that when you're delegating to people, because here's the one thing, this is why I always say video. It drives me nuts how many people train their in-office staff in office and not in a pre-recorded standpoint. How good are you at listening? Are you going to remember every single thing that Regina and I say today? Absolutely not. You're hearing it one time. And so we expect our employees to be trained on something and for them to know exactly how to do it from one time. If you record a video, they're now able to go back and watch it again. They may be able to watch it in 2 speed or they watch it in half a speed, depending on what it is. And so now it makes it so much easier where you're going to have less mistakes because you spent the time to create this video SOP that they can now review. Because guess what? They don't want to bother you. Your team doesn't want to bother you in asking you, oh, but how do I do this? Well, they already told me and I don't want to ask them again. Yeah, you shouldn't have to. You should have all of these tasks, all of these things already in a video format so that they can rewatch it, revisit it whenever they need, Someone goes on vacation, right? Boom, someone's got to fill in. The task is already done. And one step further, if you already have existing employees that are great at what they do, guess what? You get them to record the SOP. So you're not even doing the work. Just get them to do it because they're the ones that are doing it every single day. It now gives you an opportunity also to evaluate what they're doing. Are they even doing it right? Because I know sometimes you train them how to do something and then they're not actually doing how you train them. So make sure that you are recording all your SOPs in video. I recommend Loom, but you don't have to use Loom. There's a lot of other softwares where you can just use Zoom, really. Any type of video recording software. And creating this library is going to make your life so much easier in the future. Take that extra time now for long-term benefit later.
Exactly. Exactly. And what I would do too is just take it one more step further, have them use those SOPs and demonstrate it to you from start to finish. Again, trust but verify. They've created these SOPs, they fine-tuned it, they recorded it, but now let them speak on it. Have them explain it to you like you're a 12-year-old. And that's how you know, I don't need to micromanage. I've empowered you to take ownership. And now I want you to practice your leadership skills. And again, over time, this creates a system of more leaders and allows you to step away from every single detail. The last thing I would say is manage your expectations, you guys. I say when I'm hiring a new VA, when I'm hiring a new person, if they can do it 80%, then that's great. Because if they do it, take this on 80%, like the cleaning, they might not put my towels exactly where I want them or, whatever. But the time that I get back with my family is 100% better every single time. So manage your time. Perfectionism is actually self-sabotaging. I don't want you guys to say, I can't trust anyone to do it like I do. Well, yeah, you're the owner. No one is going to do it the way you do it. But what if they did it 80% and you can get them to 90%, 95%, 99%, right? It matters how you frame things. This next one is identify and avoid the whirlwind. Actually, Chris Tremp from SwiftOps taught me this. It's the whirlwind is the endless cycle of low value tasks that pull you away from strategic growth. It's like when you get dragged into countless meetings, you're all of a sudden you have to screen a flood of caregivers because there's an open shift. You're coming to work exhausted because guess what? You were on call 7 days a week, 365, right? And the problem is sometimes we're the ones that volunteer for the whirlwind. You go, you know what? Let me just do it. It'll be faster if I do it, right? No, you got to trust the team that you built to get it done. And the solution is you have to practice discipline with yourself and let the whirlwind pass you by. Lean on your team or outsource immediately. Stay committed to activities that align with your hourly value. And that's what we're going to talk about next is commit to high value activities, revenue generating activities. Some of these are like these back burner projects. Next slide. Some of these are your back burner projects, like all the things that Nick has been telling you to do as a consultant in what he does. What about your coaches in real life? What about these projects at home that you've been needing to do that's just been filling your mind with, frazzleness? You want to implement these high-level strategies. Actively building power partnerships. Get out there and start marketing, building relationships with hospitals, rehab, senior living communities. Attending industry conferences. It's so crazy how many times I sit at these conferences and people leave to answer a call. People leave, or what's worse is that they're on their computer the whole time working and they paid hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to be at these conferences, but they don't have the bandwidth to be present. And they miss out. They miss out on all these strategies, all these new trends, meeting people like me and Nick. Another thing is expanding your services by developing specialized offerings like dementia care. post-surgical recovery program, something that would set your agency apart, strengthen community ties, refine, this is a great one, refining your agency's brand and culture to not only attract but retain the best clients. We all want those private pay clients, right? Also keeping exceptional caregivers and staff because you have a strong culture. The last one is my favorite. Investing in yourself by mastering a new leadership skill like public speaking, refining your ability to inspire your team. So I want to end it with saying that true leadership is not about trying to do it alone, but mastering the art of delegation. By empowering others, trusting in their abilities, and focusing on what truly requires your unique attention, you create a, a force far greater than yourself. Success comes from working smarter, not harder, by building a team where every member thrives in their purpose. You remember, you guys, that the greatest leaders are those who lift others up, multiplying their own impact through shared vision and trust. So delegate boldly, lead wisely, and watch your goals become a reality. Thanks.
Amazing. Regina, thank you so much. I mean, this is, it's been so cool to watch, from where you weren't speaking and now seeing you just continue to, present and speak. It's amazing and you get better every time. And, you know, I love, looking back, right, and where we started and just Regina's personal story, like knowing what it's like. The things that we're talking about are simple, but that doesn't mean that they're easy, right? It can be a lot to try and overcome these certain things that we want to delegate and getting over this like control. Because at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like we're holding on to tasks because we're so afraid to let someone else do them because we're worried that they're going to mess it up. But what we're not thinking about is what if it works? What if you delegate this and it works better than you could ever imagine? If they do a better job than what you're doing? Or again, what Regina said, they only need to do 80%. I mean, this is a process that as an entrepreneur, if you want to grow, done is better than perfect. We can't get hung up on these things. But also understanding like mistakes are going to happen. It doesn't matter what business you're in. It doesn't matter, employees in all walks of life in all areas. Like there's gonna be things that happen, but it's also all right. So, do you feel confident enough that you'll be able to recover from that? Of course, you have everything you need to be able to recover from a potential mistake that may happen. But the benefit is so much greater than like that small tiny risk, of like a mistake. Which again, you make mistakes too. Like we all make mistakes. So again, it's part of it. But the freedom that comes from delegation is hard to put into words when you start doing it and you start doing it well. Like we all want our time and you're going to start to love your job more, your work because you have these things that are just the things that only you can do, the things that you enjoy working on, and really evaluating these things. And what I love about this presentation, and hopefully you're taking lots of notes, is that there are a lot of action items here. And the workbook, if you haven't downloaded the workbook, make sure you do, because again, a lot of those action items are listed right there for things for you to take steps, for things for you to do. But you have to take action. Don't make this training something where you're like, this was great, and then you go and you do nothing. We have to take actions on the things that you're learning here today. And it can be as simple as, again, these action items that Regina listed, figuring out what your time worth. I'm curious, actually, just to get some engagement. One, if you have questions, feel free. Now is a good time to submit some questions. We do have some time. But if I'm curious, based on the information here, what is your value time per hour? So put in the chat if you're willing to share, what is your value per hour? Also, if you have questions, feel free to submit them. Also, if you want to talk to Regina and talk to her team and learn more about how they can help and support you, I just put their website into the chat as well. I everyone that I've talked with and my clients that work with Regina, they love it. And I've been using virtual assistants for years before I even knew Regina, and it's been pretty wild to see because I was using it very early on to see how much, virtual assistants has kind of taken off. Where to me it's similar to, AI. It's like, hey, like we need to be using these things because our competitors are, you know? And if they're not, then we want to get the leg up and start utilizing it even more so. So, really thinking about, hey, are we just going to continue doing the same thing we've always done, or do we want to do the things that are going to help us to grow, to scale, and really get to where we want? Because at the end of the day, these are the things that are going to get you the life you want, not just the business you want. And that's the value that comes from this. But if there are no questions, then we can end a few minutes early. Lastly, I wanted to say too, I touched on it at the beginning of this. If you guys want to attend the Home Care Champions Experience, it is September 24th to 26th. You can learn more at the homecharechampionsexperience.com. I'll put that link here in the chat as well. If you want to learn more, you've got 3 days left if you want to get the lowest price of the event. One thing that's really important, it kind of ties into what we're talking about today, is really understanding that this event is not about just getting content, but about doing the work. And so, yes, I have a couple of great speakers and they're going to be presenting, but I've instructed every single one of our speakers to have actually like workshop time for people to do the work, for people to talk, to network, to engage. Because one of the things that, Regina was talking about today was really surrounding yourself, right, with reading great books and learning from other people. That's the goal of this event. It's always been about creating an experience. That's why it's not a summit or a conference. It's really about creating connection. It's about being able to network and talk with other like minded owners that want to grow, that want to learn, that want to work in other areas to better themselves and better their business. And just being around these people and learning from them. Again, I would love to speak the whole time, but I know that you're going to get more out of the connections with people that are there. So again, thank you. I don't know, Regina, did you want to say something about the event or about anything?
No, I loved the event. Honestly, it's very intimate, and I think Nick has curated a really great speaker lineup that because we have to take time away from our families, away from our work to be there, but the value that you get, your ROI on this investment is, I mean, 10 times.
Amazing. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, and if a lot of times people don't have the time to get away from the business, which is probably a huge reason why you need to start delegating more things if you can't, take a few days away from your business. So definitely something to think about. So thank you all for being here. Regina, thank you so much for, just sharing some incredible insights. I really appreciate it. Go out there, grow your business, master delegation. It's going to be amazing. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.